Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going. Hello from school holiday lands.
Oh,
The sun is shining. The trees are burping.
the sun was shining here too. It was a nice day.
Oh, good. Yeah, which helps with the highs and lows as well.
That it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do you want to kick us off today, Linda?
sure, I can. So
Okay.
I think let's start with highs. We do have a bird's nest outside the boys' window at the moment in the rose bushes of all things. It's like right inside the thorns and everything. And there's 3 little baby birds with hardly any feathers. They've only just started opening their eyes.
Yeah.
And the mama bird's coming in and feeding them every day. And we're watching them slowly grow and cheep and all the rest of it. And they can sit in their bedroom literally, and the birds aren't phased or anything. So they can watch everything happening.
That's so cool.
And it's
a real bird's nest view. Bird's eye view.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, that's very much a high. Low, just coming up to, it's just been a hormone week. It feels like it's been a hard week, emotion wise and hormone wise and self-doubt wise, and yeah, all those sort of things. Yeah. What about you?
Well, I will echo you on my low for hormone wise. Oh, yeah, it's going around. But what I appreciate about it is that it's recognizable, and not just
it
by
is.
me, but also by my husband's. Like, you get like this every month,
Mm-hmm.
and you question everything. And I hate that it comes up, but it gets me to bubble up new things, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And
Uncomfortable.
it is uncomfortable. It's hard. And I think we get often asked some of those questions of, I got asked the question the other day, what are you doing for your self-care today? What are you doing for your mental health today? And I think often the response is, or we're like, no, I just want to run away right now. It's too hard. It's not that easy. So, and then other times, if it's a little bit more intentional and we're not being put on the spot, it's different again.
Mm-hmm. Definitely is. But let's see. My high, it's not really a good high. It's actually quite gross, but it's my most entertaining part of my week, and it's been disgusting. So there was a spider that we ended up finding in one of Declan's cups. It was hiding in the lid, and as Bobby picked it up, it popped out and it scared the living daylights out of all of us. And then it was so gross because we were like flipping out, and then he ended up killing it, and it popped, and we both
Oh my God.
have trauma from it now. And then today I put a bag on the counter and there was another one. I freaked out.
Are they breeding or something?
That's what I thought, but I found out today that they were probably mating. And now there's probably like an egg sac somewhere in my house, and I have to either
oh my gosh,
hope it never hatches, or hopefully they never got there. But it's not really like a high, but it is the fun part of our week. Declan and I had a fun time in the sink with this. definitely entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. But yes, also
Bye.
see, sweetie, have a great time. Hey, remember your attention, please. Yes, as she tries to pull on eyelids. All right, Alex, attention and manners. It's such a mum thing, isn't it?
Yep.
Remember to use your manners. Remember to use your manners. Don't forget your P's and Q's. Yep, it is. It's so
Declan's
true.
been learning about respect and kindness and
Mhm.
whatever else at karate, and I'm like, where is your kindness? Like, you're not being very respectful. I feel so like my mom right now, or like the other moms that we watched growing up.
Exactly. Yep. Mhm.
And I realized it's just motherhood.
It is just exactly what we're going to do every single day. Mm. Yeah. Quinn's actually pretty good. Quinn's pretty good with thank yous. And you're going to clap. Wow. Good clapping. Clapping. We've got teeth coming through. So many things happening right now. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So when we're thinking about things that we are doing through the day
Hands in our
for our
mouth.
self-care, I think maybe the expectation is sometimes that it will be a big flamboyant, you need to do something like yoga or nails or massages, and we've touched on this before, that self-care is not all it's posted on Instagram to be. Oh, now you're gonna play with a microphone.
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to be that you just need a minute alone, or 5, or 10, however much. So it doesn't always have to be that you're actively doing something. It can be that
Yeah.
you're just removed from.
But is that actually self-care or just necessity?
It might be definitely a necessity that we're not realizing. But then again, is that then similar to, the basic need of a shower? That's not self-care. Like, that's,
Mm-hmm.
or is it? So that's a good question to be asking for that. Yeah.
And
I
I
do
think
quiet
I
time
think
is
we also yeah. I think we also need to say out loud sometimes as well that sometimes self-care is hard.
yeah.
It's not easy. It's not fluffy. It's not, the fluffy little teddy bear that we snuggle at night and all's well with the world. Sometimes self-care is hard. The effort required, the discipline to make it a priority. It's actually the opposite of fluffy, if you like.
It takes just as much effort as it does to run your household and making plans for anybody else. And I like the phrase mothering the mother. So it's almost like, can someone please make those plans for me? Especially if I'm myself prone to go to my husband and be like, hey, I really want to kind of do this thing. And he's like, yeah, why don't you? Because you need to be doing this kind of stuff yourself. And I'm going for that permission. But how much cooler would it be? Is like, hey, look, I just did it for you. Why don't you go do it?
Yeah, which takes some of that mental load off, right?
Yeah.
Because when somebody is asking the question, what are you doing for your self-care today? We're put straight away into decision mode. We're put into, well, the onus is on us to decide, to make the effort, to be disciplined, and all of those things. And not only do we have to factor in ourselves, we need to factor in tired children on my lap right now, and what are they going to eat for dinner, and when are they going to go to sleep, and all of those things. Like, it's actually an offload in a way when somebody continue. I appreciate the question. I do appreciate the question, don't get me wrong, but when it's constantly asked of you, what are you going to do, rather than, hey, there's this thing and I think this would be a really good idea for you today. It's a really different approach and really different mindset that you've then got.
Yeah. And Drop the water bottle on the space bar. um, that even makes me think that even if we weren't able to share the responsibility of someone booking something for us or making the suggestion to go do it, but if they're taking that question that you're asking, what are you going to do for self-care today? It's a continuation of it. Well, what are you going to do for self-care today? And how can I make it easier for you to do that? And like, is it taking the kids out for a walk? Is it saying, hey, look, I just put gas in your car so you can go out and go do what you need to do? Some other like thing that you can talk it out and say, well, these are the steps that are going to get me to here, but I can't do all of it to get there because it's harder for me to get my cup filled from that.
Yeah. And sometimes if you're already really depleted or low bandwidth, the effort required to get to that point of, well, here's the self-care I'm going to do today, it's like, oh, wow. It could feel really unachievable. It's like that question of what's for dinner. Well, okay, now I've got to think about that. And what have we got in the fridge? And what have we got in the cupboard? And what are people going to eat? And what are people going to like? And how long is it going to take to cook? And so when you're the one who's constantly got that question, the decision comes down to you, which is an unequal load essentially in a different way. So, like I said, while I appreciate that question, I think there's different ways to ask it. So, yeah, I think there's different ways in which it can be approached, which need to probably be balanced out a little bit. Yeah. Oh, you are so squirmy. Oh my gosh. She looks like she's literally trying to climb me. All right.
I forget where I was going with one of my thoughts, but Linda, you have all the kids home right now for school holiday.
Yes, two have just visitors the building.
How is that interfering, whatever kind of intersections are happening with your self-care and making the arrangements on your calendar? Plus, on top of your holidays, having everybody home, you also have a time change.
I think even without school holidays, the time change is always tricky. The time change is always tricky because especially when it goes forward an hour, right? So where they'd normally be going to bed, let's say at 8 o'clock, that then feels like 8 o'clock at 9 o'clock. So like last night, they were all still awake at 9 o'clock. And all Quinn wanted was videos, which were actually just ramping him up even further than putting him to sleep or anything. And I don't normally give videos at bedtime, but at the same time, I had her that needed nappy and like bottles and or like all the other things that she needed. So I was like, well, I just need you to stay in bed because he was getting up and out and up and out and up and out. And so it just became a huge schmozzle because I was on my own for bedtime. So all of it was on me again, all of that pressure. And so time change alone is hard. But this week, I definitely think I could have been much more planned with my calendar and probably a little bit more, I guess selfish is a word to explain it, but being like, you know what, no, you right now, this is my time and I need you to go outside and play outside for a little while because she's asleep and Quinn's, having lunch or something like that. So yeah, it's certainly been a little bit challenging just having because we also had a couple of days of rain this week as well. Had a couple of days of rain. We've had Quinn's birthday, so he turned 3. It's been lots of out of routine stuff
Mm.
that we've also had on top of that. So for me, I think I needed more of an intentional calendar as part of my self-care, because that sets me up for a good week. And I've sort of dabbed around that, but then I think on Sunday night when I normally do it, she was up with teeth and all sorts of things. And then, yeah.
Feel that. I think like the last 2 weeks I was able to really get intentional with the week and planning it all out. But this week with my melty on Monday is when I usually sit down with the calendar for the week. And you could see the detail that I was able to put in over the last 2 weeks on the calendar. And then this week's is like half willed, like it's not there. And it reflects in the whole week. And I feel very frazzled and I have hardly any plans this week. I just made none and left it open, and I still feel like there's no time. But it also wasn't intentionally planned out because I wasn't in that mindset. So it's been just a messy week compared to 2 that were intentionally planned that actually, while they were probably chaotic, ended up being just good weeks.
Is that because you get satisfaction out of achievements, you think?
I think it's also, I think it's more so that by the end of the week, all the stress is gone and I didn't harbor it through the good stuff. And I was able to just let it go. So I don't know if it is sense of achievement that makes you like forget something like that, or not, but like pass it on, like instead of retain it and mull on it. Cause I know this week, probably by the end of the week, I might be like, oh, we could have made this week so much better, and thought twice about our self-doubt days.
Self-doubt and self-pity.
But last week I look back and I'm like, yeah, it was chaotic and I had all this pressure, but I don't really remember it. I was able to forget it and keep going, and might stick with me a little bit more this week.
But you've worked up to that stage though. It hasn't always been like that though, where you could let go of it much easier.
Probably, yeah. Especially, I also think there were longer periods of those worst days and less periods of the better, well-planned days.
I still come back to the point though that self-care does require effort and discipline.
Yeah.
And when I think sometimes when it falls into place quite easily, it's fabulous. But maybe also if we're in this week, like we both are at the moment, when it falls into place really easily, you start to then doubt, like, this is too good to be true sometimes, or like, what's going on? How come I can't do this again? Why can't this work more continuously?
Part of the heart is also being flexible when you are trying to be consistent or have a routine of that kind of the little self-care. Especially, we've been talking recently a lot about our fitness or wellness in movement, and trying to get the time in for you at the pool to go swimming is a very hard effort. And then it's a little easier to do workouts at home when you have the ability to be flexible with where you're working out or when you're working out. So flexibility.
But you've also got to have the motivation to do it in the first place as well. So
where are we
sometimes
so
so there's that side of it too.
Interesting.
Yep.
And that's why we need our bandwidth to figure it all out. Because what was it today? My devotional talked about that. We have 30,000 thoughts in one whole day. So that's 31 thoughts per minute awake. like per waking minute. And I'm like, can you imagine all of those decisions if they were decisions we had to make from those thoughts? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of brain power. And and Linda has lost her speakers on me. But yeah, that's a lot of brain power to have to
That is a lot.
oh,
Oh my gosh.
too much. I wish it was all just fluffy stuff where we could just go to yoga and be completely replenished of our bandwidth and have our cup overflowing.
Yes. Well, one day maybe. Then there might not be a reason for this podcast at the same time. Look, if you are having a hard time with your self-care, we hear you. We absolutely acknowledge that it is really hard sometimes. I just wanted to really say that out loud more than ever on this episode, as I'm juggling and squirming and all the other things with her in my life. Yeah. And I think that's probably a wrap for today. So until next week.
I hope you can unstuck your mouth.
Bye.